Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today to yet another episode of Lunch Guide. My name is Chef Andy, and today I'm very excited to bring you a very different kind of festive treat. We're going to be making a burger, but this time we're going to be making a breakfast burger. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my ingredients and then we're going to go straight into the process. So I'm just going to start to my farthest end. I've got some coriander powder, some garam masala, some beautiful oregano, and some paprika powder. I also have a piece of gherkin there. I've got some tomato paste, some butter, some salt, a bit of hot sauce there, a bit of Worcestershire sauce, a bit of mustard, just regular Dijon mustard, a bit of mint, a bit of brown sugar, a bit of ketchup. I also have some two beautiful buns here. Also here I have some peeled sausages, so this is definitely just simple sausages, just with the skins taken out. I also have a bit of bacon. I've got some beautiful red Holland cheese there, a bit of egg white there for binding, some white onion there, a bit of tomatoes, and last but not least, a bit of fresh coriander. So without further ado, we are going to take a short commercial break. If you are going to be taking some notes with this particular episode, do grab your pens and papers, and when we come back, we're just going to dive in. See you after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those who missed out on the introduction, we are going to be making a very, very simple and festive burger today. We are going to be making a breakfast burger. Now, without further ado, I'm going to grab my bowls and I'm just going to take you through it. So, the reason for this particular inspiration, I have always woken up in the morning and I've always thought to myself, I would really love a burger, but of course, I wouldn't want it just like any other regular burger, so I would always think to myself, which is the easiest and best way to have a breakfast in a bun? Now that is exactly what I'm going to be showing you guys today. So I'm going to start off here. I've got some beautiful Boerewors sausages. So all I did was peel this, so I just took the skins off, and we're just going to drop those into our big bowl here. Now to that, I'm going to be seasoning with a bit of oregano, a bit of coriander powder, a bit of garam masala, and a bit of paprika. I'm also going to be adding just a bit of salt and pepper for taste. And I'll also be adding some tomato paste to that. So very, very simple. We're just going to add all our dry spices in there. So this is basically a teaspoon of everything. Remember, it's a breakfast burger. You're looking at building quite a bit of flavor because remember, you're going to be serving this in the morning. And remember, your taste buds are really fresh. You've just woken up, so your palate is definitely looking for that surprise in the morning, that extra kick. So this is definitely going to do that. So I'm just going to break up my sausage meat there with a wooden spoon. And now to that, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Then we're gonna just get a bit of that beautiful black pepper in there. And then I'm going to add a bit of egg. So I'm just using egg white. This is just for the binding. And then to that, I'm also going to be chopping in one white onion. And then last but not least, a bit of that fresh coriander. So very, very simple. Just going to chop that into very small dices. So one particular thing to remember about making a breakfast burger, you can definitely come up with your own techniques. You can alternatively choose to go with a bun. You could always go with just regular sandwich bread. the options are actually very open. And there's not really a set standard to making a breakfast burger, so I'm just using my particular technique. And I also urge that if you do have one yourself, do feel free to incorporate it. Right, so to that, I'm just going to chop some fresh coriander. So simple as that. Right, and then last but not least, a bit of that beautiful mint. So very simple technique of chopping mint. Just grab your leaves, lay them one on top of the other. Remember, this is definitely just going to make it a little easier to chop them and get a very beautiful fine chop right through. So all I do is just layer my leaves one on top of the other. Of course, no stalks. And all I'm going to do now is let my knife go through. Right, simple as that, very consistent, done. Right. So we're just about done with our sausage filling for the burger. So we're just going to finish off by just giving that a mix. Remember, you can actually also work with your hands if you prefer. Right, so definitely I'm using beef sausage for this particular recipe. There are also chicken sausages out there which you can work with. I decided particularly for this recipe to use some farm sausages, some farmer style sausages, so I'm using Boerewors sausages. They've got a nice rustic taste to them, and they definitely really bring a bit of tradition into a festive season. And remember, they're also a little spicy. They're very well seasoned, so they do actually just bring a really good flavor with them. Right. Right, so that's about done. Just going to scoop everything into the bottom of the bowl there. So very simple. Next step is just basically to form our burger patties. For that, I'm just going to use my hand. So I'm just going to break up the meat a little bit, scoop off the excess of our wooden spoon, and we're gonna discard that. So very simply, grab your meat onto your hand, about a golf ball size. And all you do is roll that into a ball shape like that. And just set those aside. So remember also to always give it a bit of a squeeze, just to make sure you get all the air out of those meatballs before they actually go into the frying stage. That particularly allows for you to cook them really well, and it doesn't actually break apart when you're actually frying them. So nice little gentle roll like that. Right, and last but not least, just one more last piece. And it's as easy as that. So I'm just going to rinse off my hands quickly, and we're gonna go into cooking this really fast. So we're going to be doing this on a hot pan. We're going to be cooking them for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, just to give them a bit of color. We are also going to take them out and rest them a little bit while we prep everything else, and then we're just gonna come back and assemble. All right, so pan on, medium to low heat as always. Very crucial. So for this particular recipe, I'm not going to be using olive oil. I'm going to be cooking with a bit of butter. Remember, it's breakfast, as I said. You really want the love and the passion to go through all the way to your plate. So about 1.5 teaspoons of just regular butter. Okay, Okay, so we're just going to fry this really quickly on the side there, but before we do that, I actually want to show you what I'm going to be doing with the buns. So this is just a regular bun, a regular burger bun, but remember, since it's breakfast and you're also really working on that bit of presentation, I'm going to be using this mold, and what you're going to do is we're actually just going to get the inside out. So I'm just going to place it right over the bun, and all I'm going to do is squeeze it about halfway down, and I'm just going to use my knife to get that beautiful center of our burger bun. So simple as that. Also going to just turn it around and give it a nice firm press right around. Right, and actually just by following the ring, very simple technique. Just use a small knife, follow your ring right around, and you should be able to get a nice, beautiful little mini bun that's gonna come out of that. So simple as that. So something like that, very simple, as I said. The reason why I'm taking the crust off on this particular stage is, remember, these are breakfast burgers and I don't really want all that excess on the side. Remember, also it also actually adds a bit of value to your presentation. Right, so our butter is nice and melted now. This is now ready to go. We're just going to pause that for a little second. So now all I'm going to do is grab my meatballs again. All I'm going to do is just roll them up and get the shape really quickly. And I'm just going to use my 2 fingers, and I'm just going to press once on the top, and that can go straight on the pan. And I'm just going to repeat the same process with the rest. So 1 light small press at the top and straight into the pan. Last but not least, that goes into the pan as well. So particularly for breakfast burgers, as I said, I like to make it as light and as beautiful in appearance as possible. Remember, as I said, it's the most important meal of your day. You do really want your guests or your kids to actually come up to the breakfast table and really enjoy the idea that you made this much effort. I'm just going to do the same with this last piece. I'm just going to turn it around, give it a press, and finish off by using just your small knife to go right around the bun. All we are going to do is discard this excess. So I always insist, if you're going to be playing around with the recipe such as this one, please remember some of these parts, some of these bits that you actually take out, they're still usable. You could actually reserve this and turn it into breadcrumbs. It will really be of handy, so please don't chuck this away, always keep them. You could always dry them out in the oven, put them in a blender or a food processor, and you will actually get very good breadcrumbs. So we're just gonna set that aside. And as you can see, nice beautiful patties. So we're just going to move those onto a plate, and we're gonna reserve those for later. So all we're going to do now is give this a turn. We're just going to give them a lift and check what they look like on the other side. So always start with the first patty that went onto the pan and work your way around to the one that went in last. So just finger on the top, and all you do is turn them around, and as you can see, nice beautiful colors. Right, and just give your pan a bit of a shake to make sure you actually get all that butter to incorporate onto your patties. So simple as that. While those continue, I'm also gonna grab some of this beautiful bacon, and we're just going to cook it on the same pan. Remember, this is all going into one dish, so you could definitely just use the same pan for that purpose. And I'm just going to lay my slices of bacon right around. Now, one particular reason I like to do this is because, first of all, you do allow the bacon to cook in its own fat, and the fat will actually just be able to incorporate into the beef patties. And basically you get a nice general flavor that goes around between the nice sweetness of the bacon and the spiciness of the beef patty, and it actually composes itself into a really beautiful burger. So I'm just going to spread those around like that. I'm just going to lay my bacon right in between my pieces of beef. And for the rest of the pieces, I'm just going to lay them around. And I'm just going to let that cook really, really slow. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to allow this to cook for about another 4 to 5 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to take these ingredients to another level, and I'm now going to be able to show you how to assemble your beautiful breakfast burger. See you after a short bit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our beautiful burger patties are now done and our bacon is beautifully crisp. Now I'm just about to show you the last stage of finishing off your burgers. And as you can see, we have our slices of beautiful back bacon on top of our patties. Our patties are just about 3/4 way cooked, so we're just going to finish them off in the oven, and I'm just going to show you how. So on the baking tray here, I have a nice beautiful sheet of wax paper. This is just to this is just to allow the grease to actually fall onto the baking sheet, and when they come out, the greaseproof paper will actually have absorbed the excess oil dripping from all the bacon and the meat. So we're just going to move these onto our baking tray first. Remember, the oven is already preheated. And we're not going to be cooking them too long. We just want to melt the cheese on top, and then we're going to go straight onto assembling these. So very, very simple. I'm using some red Holland cheddar cheese. I'm just going to break a few pieces like that on the top. Just like that, very, very simple. And then to that, just a tiny pinch of salt on the top. And of course, just a bit of black pepper. So this is just basically to also enrich the flavors of the cheese and to just generally give it a nice finish of flavor when it comes out of the oven. So these are just going to go under an element. We're just going to melt the cheese, and we're going to take them out immediately after the cheese has just begun to melt. So I'm just going to set those for about 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we are going to make a very, very simple sauce to go with our burgers, our sliders. Very, very simple. In a pan, I'm going to be incorporating a bit of ketchup. We'll also be adding about a teaspoon of brown sugar. Right, very, very simple, as I said. Then we're also going to add about 1.5 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. And if you can't find Dijon, you can actually use American mustard, but I would recommend don't put it in the pan, probably mix it after the sauce is cooked through. Then here I've got some Worcestershire sauce. Last but not least, a bit of some hot sauce. Right, simple as that. So low heat, just whisk that quickly. Just as soon as it's incorporated, turn it off. So simple as that. So basically this is just to allow us to dissolve the brown sugar. Remember, that wouldn't dissolve without any bit of heat. So we're just reheating the sauce to be able to melt down our brown sugar and just to get the mixture to be one consistent texture. We're just going to give that a taste just to check for seasoning. Perfect. So simple as that. We can now set that aside. And then I'm also going to be using this pan now, and what we're going to do is we're just going to color our buns a little bit. Remember, a wet patty on a very soggy bread, this will give you a very soggy after effect, and this is basically how to try and get rid of that. So our cheese is just about melted. We'll give that another few minutes, and in the meantime, I'm just going to melt some cheese on the pan. I'm just going to bring the heat a little higher. So we're just going to melt some of that unsalted butter. To that, I'm just going to add just a little bit of black pepper. And now, just for the final stages, just to finish that off, we're also going to be adding some slices of beautiful tomato, which we're just going to serve on the side. I'm just going to take about 4 slices. And then also we are going to also be using the gherkin, so I'm just going to cut it in half, just like that. Very simple. Right, so in the pan, just wiggle your pan a little bit, get your butter to spread out evenly around. Now all we're going to do is drop the buns in there, and we're going to be serving, we're going to be dropping them with the side that we're going to be serving the meat on. That we're going to make sure that's on the bottom, and all we're going to do is just allow those to toast and color a little bit while they absorb all that butter. Remember, there's a lot of flavor in the pan as well, so you do want the bread to actually absorb all that. And it's always advisable, always give your pan a bit of a shake. This actually allows your bread to absorb as much of that butter as possible. We're just going to give that a look. Okay, so we're just going to toast that for another extra minute. So as I said, ladies and gentlemen, very simple technique of making a breakfast burger. You can always incorporate your own technique. You can incorporate your own ingredients. As I said, this is just a guideline to show you how we would do it, or rather I would do it on my end. But do feel free to substitute some of the ingredients that you've been able to see on the show, and I'm sure you might actually come up with your very own better burger than the one we have today. So as you can see, nice, beautiful, golden patties there. Right, so simple as that. Gonna spread them on a plate, and we're gonna turn down our heat and set that aside. And now I'm just going to go straight into the plating. So I'm just going to grab a spoon, and very simply I'm just going to spread those out to the edges. And very simply I'm just going to grab some of that sauce. As you can see, our buns are done. Our patties are done, so I'm just going to grab that sauce, and I'm just going to drizzle just a little bit on each one of those bread pieces, just like that. And I'm just going to leave another dollop on the plate just for decoration. And I'm just going to run my spoon right across. Very simple technique. Just going to use also some of that beautiful fresh coriander there. I'm just going to lay that on the plate, and then now we're just basically going to take out our burger patties that are now nicely melted on with the cheese. The cheese is now just nicely drizzling down. As you can see, nice even melt, not too much. Remember, you're not trying to, you're just trying to melt the cheese slightly just to be able to enjoy the burger. And you're also taking really much precaution in trying to not overcook your burger patties. Right, so just to finish that off, we're just going to garnish those really quickly and easy. I'm just going to easily move those onto our bread there. So simple as that. So very, very simple technique. As I said, it is a breakfast burger. You are trying to be a little creative. And to that, I'm just going to add a slice of tomato on each. And last but not least, just a piece of gherkin on each one. And that should give you a mouthful that you definitely are going to enjoy. So ladies and gentlemen, very, very simple. As I said, very, very simple technique of making burgers from scratch at home. Definitely, I'm sure most of you are just looking at this and you're definitely looking forward to try some of this at home. And my work here is done. So as I always insist, please do check out our Facebook page. Do leave your comments, do leave any inquiries or any comments, and we'll be definitely looking forward to get back to you. From the studios and myself, I do thank you so much for showing your support and following the show this far. We are enjoying your feedback, so please keep those comments coming. We definitely are looking forward to hearing from you. From the studios and myself, it has been a pleasure. My name is Chef Andy. You have been watching Lunch Guide. And from my end, in this festive season, happy holidays.